lecture number 12, Principles of Animal Nutrition, and this is a part 3 of classification of carbohydrates. So in the previous lectures, we discussed about monosaccharides, and today we will discuss about non-sugars. Non-sugars are classified into two categories. The one is known as polysaccharide and the other one is known as complex carbohydrates. Polysaccharides are those which contain more than 9 monomer units, and they are further divided into two classes. One is known as homoglycans and the second one is known as heteroglycans. Homoglycan means they contain same type of monosaccharide residue, whereas in case of heteroglycans, there are different types of monosaccharide residues. So we will discuss one by one. So under the homoglycans, the first one is arabinose and xylans. Arabinose and xylose, these are the pentose sugars. So when there is a polymers of arabinose and xylose, that is known as arabinans and xylans. So they are commonly found in combination with other sugars, and they are the constituents of heteroglycans. Next comes the starch. Starch is a polymer of glucose. It is also known as non-structural polysaccharide. If you remember, we also classified into structural and non-structural carbohydrates. Non-structural carbohydrates are this starch. There are two types of starch. The one is amylose and the other one is amylopectin. Amylose is made up of a linear chain of several hundred glucose residues. So it's a linear or an unbranched structure. Here the glucose molecules, they are linked together through alpha-1,4 glycosidic bond. Then comes the amylopectin. Amylopectin is a branch structure. So at about 13th residue, there is a side chain. So that side chain is a short chain and it is attached also by a glycosidic bond, but that linkage is at carbon number 6. This is the carbon above the ring. So glucose number in a molecule of amylopectin is several thousand. Here you can see the structure. This one is the straight chain structure where the linkage is alpha-1,4 linkage. So this is the alpha glucose, this is also the alpha glucose, and this is carbon number 1 and this is carbon number 4. So alpha-1,4 linkage. So at every 13th carbon glucose residue, there is a linkage at the 6th number carbon atom. So that makes a branch structure. So we say it's an amylopectin. This straight chain is known as amylose and this complete structure is known as amylopectin. Starch is known as reserve polysaccharide. Little bit in more detail. This one is the amylose structure of the starch, and this is the branch structure branching at carbon number 6 that linked with one carbon of the glucose as a side chain. So it's alpha-1,4 glycosidic linkage or glucosidic linkage because it's a glucose molecule. So starch is hydrolyzed into dextrin, and then dextrin is hydrolyzed into maltose, and then maltose is hydrolyzed into glucose. So this is how the starch is converted into glucose. That intestinal juices containing amylase enzyme, they cause hydrolysis that convert this into a dextrin, and then dextrin is into maltose. So through maltase enzyme, this maltose is converted into glucose residues. Then comes the glycogen. Glycogen is known as a store, animal store of this energy or animal store of excess glucose. So again, glycogen is a polymer of glucose molecules. The structure of glycogen is similar to that of amylopectin, but the only difference or the major difference you can say, in case of glycogen, the branches, they are shorter and they are more frequent. So this the difference between starch and glucose. Starch is a reserve polysaccharide, and glycogen is also a reserve polysaccharide, but it is in case of animals or human beings. And in case of starch, after every 13th residue, there is a branching, whereas in case of glycogen, and the branching is short and it is frequent. Then comes cellulose. Structure is similar to that of starch. It's a polymer of glucose, but here glucose molecules, they are linked together through this beta-1,4 glycosidic linkage. Here you can see here is a beta residue that is linked with, here the hydroxyl group is on the upper side or towards the CH2OH side, so it's a beta residue. This is beta-1,4 glycosidic linkage. So when glucose molecules, they are linked together through beta-1,4 linkage, then we have cellulobiose. When there is a polymer of such glucose structures linked through this beta-1,4 glycosidic linkage, then we say it's a cellulose. Cellulose is the single most abundant organic molecule in the biosphere. It is a major structural material of the plant. Cell wall is made up of this cellulose. Wood is largely cellulose, while cotton and paper are almost pure cellulose. You would be surprised to know that the Pakistan currency notes, they are made up of cotton. So in general, you can say that they are made up of cellulose. So like starch, cellulose is a polysaccharide with glucose as its monomer residues. However, there is a difference between starch and cellulose. The ring of glucose, they are arranged in a flip-flop manner that result in a long, straight and rigid molecule. There is a no side chain in case of cellulose, like in case of starch. The absence of side chain allows this molecule to lie close together. And third is due to a large number of hydroxyl group and the oxygen atom in the ring, there are many opportunities for hydrogen bonds to form between adjacent chains. So that gives this cellulose a very rigid structure or rigid molecule. There is also a term of beta glucans. Beta glucans, these are the polysaccharides of glucose molecule which are linked through beta glycosidic bond. There are a number of molecules which made due to their difference in their molecular mass, solubility, viscosity, and their configuration. So they occur commonly as cellulose in plant, like the bran of cereal grains, the cell wall of baker's yeast, certain fungi, mushrooms, and bacteria. Here is an example of beta glucan where there is two types of linkage, beta-1,3 and beta-1,6. So orientation of the location of different beta glucan, you can see from this picture. Here is beta-1,3 and here is beta-1,6 linkage. So they are useful in human nutrition as a texturing agent, and they are the soluble fiber supplement used in making soluble fiber supplements. Example is oat fiber, that is a rich source of water soluble fiber with beta-1,3 and beta-1,4 linkages. Oat beta glucans are the dietary fiber currently recognized as safe and to be able to reduce a disease risk. Likewise, barley has also beta glucan fiber, and that is more than any other type of grain. So then comes the cellulose. Cellulose is a plant polysaccharide that is composed of glucose residues linked together through beta-1,3 linkages, and it is also termed as beta glucan. So they are manufactured at the cell wall by Callose synthase enzyme, and it is degraded by beta-1,3 glucanase enzyme. It is laid down at plasmodesmata at the dividing cell plate and during pollen development. It is produced in response to wound infection by pathogen, aluminium, and abscisic acid. So then comes the fructans. Fructans are the reserve material in the root, stem, leaves, and seeds. They are particularly present in the composite and Gramineae families. They are soluble in cold water and are of relatively low molecular weight. It contains beta-D fructose residues joined together by 2,6 or 2,1 linkages. So there are three types of fructans. The one which are known as leave-on, where the linkage is 2,6, and there is an inulin where the linkage is 2,1, and a group of highly branched fructan found, for example, in case of wheat endosperm, that group contain both type of linkages, 2,6 and 2,1 type of linkages. So these fructans, upon hydrolysis, they yield D-fructose and a small amount of D-glucose, which is derived from the terminal sucrose unit present in the fructans. So here you can see the structure. There's a type of fructan. It's a formula of inulins where there is a 2,1 linkage, a linear fructans with a terminal D-glucose molecule with beta-1,2 linkage. Then from galactose, there are the galactans, and from mannose, there are mannans. Both are present in the cell wall of the plant. Mannan is the main component of palm seed, where it occurs as a food reserves and disappear during the germination process. Likewise, the seed of different legumes, like including clovers, lucerne, they all contain the galactans. Then glucosamine. Chitin is an example of this homoglycan, which contains glucosamine. It's a polysaccharide made from repeating unit of derivatives of glucose, and that's the acetyl glucosamine. These units are connected linearly through beta-1,4 linkage. So chitin is very important because it's the structural component and make up the cell wall of fungi. This is also a part of exoskeleton of arthropod and insects. Chitin structure and linkages are similar to that of cellulose, except that the hydroxyl group on the second carbon of glucose is replaced by acetyl amine group. That makes this glucosamine. So next to cellulose, it is probably the most abundant polysaccharide present in the nature. So this is all about these homoglycans. Here we have discussed about arabinose, and from xylose we discuss about arabinans and xylans, mainly present as a component of heteroglycans. Then from glucose there are the glucan, and under that the major is starch molecule, which is a reserve carbohydrate that is then converted into dextrin and also glycogen. Then cellulose and callose, part of the cell wall. Then fructans, part of different plants. Their reserves, again, carbohydrates soluble in cold water. From galactose, galactan; from mannose, mannan; and then chitin or glucosamine, where there is a attachment of acetylamine. And under the fructan, we have discussed inulin and leave-on depending upon the bonding. Then comes the heteroglycan. Heteroglycan mean where a different type of monosaccharide molecules are linked together. The first one is pectic substances. Pectic substances, they are mainly associated with polysaccharides which are soluble in hot water, and they occur as a constituent of primary cell wall of intercellular region of higher plants. They are abundant in soft tissue like the peel of citrus fruit and sugar pulp. They are referred as intercellular cements. So they help in, you can say, binding, that's a binding material, intracellular binding material. Main member of this group consists of a linear chain of D-galactronic acid. If you remember the acid derivatives of glucose and galactose, so this is a galactronic acid, aldonic, alderic, and uranic acid. So linear chain is of galactronic acid in which there is a varying proportion of acid groups are present as methyl esters. The chain are interrupted at an interval by insertion of rhamnose residue. So within the chain, there is a rhamnose molecule, and the other sugar constituent of pectic substances are galactose and xylose. They are attached as a side chain. So if you look at this is the pectic substances, and in detail, here you can see the pectin molecule where there is a galactronic acid, then methylated galactronic acid, amidated galactronic acid, rhamnose, ribinose, and galactose, and then xylose. So all they make up this pectic substance. Under the heteroglycan, there is a pectic acid that is also a member of this class and similar in structure to pectin, but that divide of ester group. Pectic substances possess, they are used having some gelling properties, and commercially they are used in jam making. Then comes the hemicellulose, the most important component of the cell wall. It's alkali soluble cell wall polysaccharide, and they are closely associated with the cellulose. Structurally, hemicellulose, they are composed of different type of monomer units, including this glucose, galactose, mannose, xylose, and arabinose. They are joined in different combination through different type of glycosidic bond. And hemicellulose from grasses, just let you know about the composition from grasses. They contain a main chain of xylose. So when there is a polymer, it becomes xylan. They are linked together through beta-1,4. And the side chain consists of methylated glucuronic acid and frequently glucose, galactose, and arabinose. So these are the components which are present as a side chain in the hemicellulose. So here you can see the structure of cell membrane. These are the different layers. So under the cell wall, or the first one, if we see within this membrane, there is a cellulose glucose molecule linked together through beta-1,4 linkage. So this is the cellulose fiber, and here the chain of glucose molecules, beta-1,4 linkage, and then comes the hemicellulose that consists of arabinose, xylose, galactronic acid. Then comes the lignin. So these three, hemicellulose, cellulose, and lignin, they are compacted in the cell wall. Lignin, cellulose, and then this hemicellulose, blue color, and here is the membrane. So you can say that they are all packed together. That makes a cell wall. Under the heteroglycans, there are exudate gums and acid mucilages. They are very much important compound because they are used in manufacturing of medicines, and they are also act as some providing some protective action to the plant against wounds. So they are produced from wounds in plant, although they may arise as natural exudation from bark and leaf. The gum occur as a salt, especially of calcium and magnesium. And in some cases, the proportion of the hydroxyl group, they are esterified usually as acetates. Gum arabic, also known as gum acacia, charbund, or charbund in our local language. So it's a natural gum made up of hardened sap taken from the species of the acacia. So this acacia gum has long been a familiar substance. On hydrolysis, it yields arabinose, galactose, rhamnose, and glucuronic acid. Then acid mucilages, they are obtained from the bark, fruit, leaves, and seed of variety of plant. Common example is the linseed mucilage. It's a well-known example of which produce on hydrolysis arabinose, galactose, rhamnose, and galactronic acid. Then mucilages in plant is thought to aid in water storage and seed germination. So they also help in water storage and to act as membrane thickener and food reserves. Among the richest source, they are the cacti and other succulents like the flaxseed or linseed mucilage. So here is an example of this mucilage, a sundew plant with a leaf bent around a fly trapped by the mucilage. So when there is a fly, so it is trapped by the mucilages of the plant. Then comes hyaluronic acid and chondroitin. These hyaluronic acid and chondroitin, they contain a repeating unit of an amino sugar, D-glucuronic acid. In case of hyaluronic acid, there is acetyl D-glucosamine is present that is present in the skin, synovial fluid, and the umbilical cord. Solution of this acid, they are of viscous and play an important role as a lubrication of the joints. Then comes the chondroitin. It is chemically similar to hyaluronic acid, but the difference is it contains galactosamine. Hyaluronic acid contains glucosamine and it contains galactosamine in place of glucosamine. So sulfate ester of chondroitin, they are the major structural component of cartilages, tendons, and bones. So you can see the importance of this carbohydrate in both synovial or umbilical fluid as well as lubricated fluid for the lubrication of the joint. They all contain this carbohydrates. Last one is the lignin. So technically, lignin is not a carbohydrate. So keep in mind, do not consider lignin as a carbohydrate. If you remember the previous picture of cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin, so basically the cell wall contain all these three components: cellulose, hemicellulose, and lignin. So that's why we discuss under the carbohydrate, but it is not a carbohydrate. The reason being, it is closely associated with cellulose, hemicellulose, and its presence in the cell wall. And that's why we discuss over here. So it gives a biological resistance to the cell wall and mechanical strength to the plant. Lignin does not refer to a single well-defined compound. Rather, it's a compound, many other related compound. So it's a polymer that originates from three derivatives of phenyl propane. So you can say it's a polyphenolic compound. So it's a phenyl propane. They have three types: fumarate alcohol, coniferal alcohol, and synapyl alcohol. The lignin molecule is made up of many polyphenols and phenyl propionate units associated in a complex link structure. So this, depending upon the configuration, if R and R1 position, they are occupied by the hydrogen, there's the fumarate alcohol. Otherwise, there's the fumarate if it is occupied by R is occupied by the hydrogen and R1 is occupied by OHC3. And if it is both R and R1 they are occupied, then it's a synapyl alcohol. So lignin, I have already mentioned why we discuss, because it gives a high resistance and it is not easily degraded by the enzymes due to its structure. It gives a physical incrustation of plant fibers. That's why, due to the physical incrustation of the plant fiber, it do not allow cellulase, hemicellulase enzyme to attack the cellulose and hemicellulose. So that's why those cellulose and hemicellulose, which are bound with the lignin, or in some cases due to physical incrustation, they cannot be degraded by the ruminant animals. So that results in, you can say, the loss of those cellulose and hemicellulose carbohydrates, and it do not provide any nutrition to the body. So this is the reason that makes this lignin is a non-required nutrient. So it is not required in the diet because it reduces the availability of the carbohydrate. And if cellulose and hemicellulose, they are linked with the lignin through lignocellulosic bond. So that result in the loss of such nutritive component of the diet. So wood products, mature hay and straw, they are rich in lignin. If we use a plant if we grow maize and we cut at the stage when there is a seed production, so at that time the plant plant is a fully matured plant and their fibrous component they are high, as well as that plant become lignified. So that's why we usually use small quantity of this wheat straw or rice straw in the diet, because it contains high amount of lignin. So chemical treatments, they are required to break the bond between lignin and other carbohydrates. The common practice is to do this urea treatment, and we can also go for alkali or hydrogen peroxide treatment, but the most effective, or you can say that can be a safer treatment, that's a urea treatment. So that can be done by sprinkling 4% urea solution and then covering the stuff for at least 30 to 40 days, because there is a production of ammonia gas. So that ammonia causes some delignification of the stuff, and that releases the cellulose and hemicellulose. So that can be used by the that can be then digested in the ruminant stomach. So this is all about carbohydrate. We have discussed about the carbohydrate.